Hello everyone. Today we start the discussion about limbic system. Limbic system is a complex system and it is made up of various cortical and subcortical structures. Meaning of limbic, limbus that is border. So it forms a ring around the hilus or you can say around the basal part of the brain of the cerebral hemisphere. It is also known as limbic lobe. Previously it was known as rhinencephalon because it is concerned with the function of smell. It is also important for the emotional part and also for the formation of memory. It is also known as visceral brain because it is concerned with various visceral functions. It regulates various autonomic functions. Now, limbic system consists of, first we discuss about the physiological anatomy. Limbic system consists of limbic cortex, this part, and subcortical structures. Now, limbic cortex, it includes various areas and they are orbitofrontal cortex, subcallosal gyrus, cingulate gyrus, parahippocampal gyrus and uncus. Subcortical structures include parts of basal ganglia, hippocampus, anterior nucleus of thalamus, hypothalamus and amygdala, as well as septal area and para-olfactory areas. Now, other way of classification, that is according to development. Archicortical structures, paleocortical structures, juxtalocortical structures and subcortical structures. Archicortical, those who are oldest one, they include hippocampus here and dentate gyrus. This is hippocampal gyrus and this is dentate gyrus. Second is paleocortical structure, which includes piriform cortex, olfactory lobe and olfactory tubercle. And juxtalocortical structure, that is near the cortex, cingulate gyrus, or it is also known as limbic cortex, which includes this area, and orbito-insulotemporal cortex. And subcortical structures, this we have already discussed, it is all nuclei, portions of the basal ganglia, hippocampus, anterior nucleus of thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, septal area and para-olfactory area. Now, connections. Important connections are hippocampus to mammillary body. This is fornix, which connects hippocampus to the mammillary body of hypothalamus. Second, that is lateral hypothalamus. It receives afferent fibers from various areas of limbic system and they are from hippocampus, from the septal nuclei, from from the piriform area, olfactory tubercle, from periamygdalar area and head of caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus, which is a part of basal ganglia, it receives afferent from cingulate gyrus and intralaminar nucleus of thalamus. Brainstem reticular formation, it receives afferent from cingulate gyrus and hippocampus. Very important circuit in the limbic system, that is Pepys circuit. Here in this circuit, there is a connection between various areas of limbic system. First and foremost, as we have discussed, that is fornix, connection between hippocampus and mammillary body. From mammillary body, the fibers they project to the anterior thalamic nucleus, mammillothalamic tract. From anterior thalamic nucleus to the cingulate gyrus, and from cingulate gyrus again back to the hippocampus, and from hippocampus through fornix to the mammillary body. This circuit is very important for emotional reactions as well as it is important for memory. Now, various characteristic features of limbic system. Because the limbic system has little connections with the cerebral cortex. This is the reason why our emotional behavior, why our instinctual behavior is not completely under control of our cerebral cortex. Because neocortical activity or cerebral cortex can modify our emotional behavior, but it cannot switch on or switch off. We cannot directly switch on or switch off our emotional behavior by the cerebral cortex. Second characteristic feature of limbic system is there is prolonged after discharge, because all these nuclei they have closed anatomical circuit and therefore the sensory experience which affects our emotions, that has prolonged effects. Now, we briefly describe the functions of limbic system. Some of the functions, most of the functions, they are of the functions of hypothalamus. So first and foremost, that is olfaction. Piriform cortex and amygdala nucleus, they are concerned with the, this is piriform cortex and amygdala nucleus, they are concerned with the function of olfaction. Endocrine function, they are regulated Anterior pituitary hormone secretion is regulated by hypothalamus and posterior pituitary hormones are secreted by hypothalamus. Also, hypothalamus as well as hippocampus, they play an important role in the emotional reaction. Hypothalamus is a head ganglion of autonomic nervous system because it regulates various visceral and vegetative functions. They are heart rate, blood pressure, body water regulation as well as body temperature. Now, another functions are other functions are that is also of hypothalamus regulation of circadian rhythm because hypothalamus has a biological clock function which regulates our circadian rhythm. For sexual function regulation, hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormone our which in turn regulate our secretion of FSH and LH from anterior pituitary, which in turn regulates estrogen and testosterone secretion from gonads. Food intake regulation is also the function of hypothalamus. Feeding and satiety centers, they play an important role in regulation of food intake, as well as amygdala also play an important role in the food intake regulation because if there is lesion in the amygdala, that is hyperphagia. Now, another function of limbic system, that is it has an important role in the memory, that we have already discussed that Pepys circuit play an important role in the memory. Fornix, that is a connection between hippocampus to the mammillary body. From mammillary body, mammillothalamic tract, which projects to the anterior nucleus of thalamus, and from thalamus to the cingulate gyrus, and cingulate gyrus back to the hippocampus. Also, hypothalamus has reward and punishment centers. Here, this is the reward center, nucleus accumbens, and prefrontal cortex, and punishment centers are present in the hypothalamus. They play an important role in the motivation. Now, we'll discuss certain other physiological functions. One of the very important function, that is physiology of emotions. Now, what is emotions? Emotion is an aroused state which involves intense feeling, autonomic activation, as well as related behavior, and this behavior is accompanied by our conscious experience, past experience, and it has two components, mental component and physical component. Now, first and foremost, that is mental component, which is also known as sensory component, which has three parts: cognition, affect, and cognition. What is cognition? There is a phenomena by which one becomes aware of, or you can say one recognizes the situation. Second is affect. Affect means now feeling develops. So development of feeling. So this is reflection of our mental state. First we are recognizing, then we are reflecting in the form of feeling development. And third, that is conation. What is conation? It is the force which directs or which urges the person to take action. Now we'll discuss one by one. Again, you can see if suppose somebody hears sound of lion, then first and foremost reaction, that is cognition. He or she recognizes that the sound seems to be of lion. So that is a conation part. Sorry, that is a cognition part. Then second part, that is affect, means after hearing the sound, the person develops feeling that he or she might be frightened. And third, that is conation. Conation means now he or she is forced to perform the action. Second component, that is physical component, or it is also known as expressive component or peripheral component or motor side of emotional behavior, which is again two subcomponents: somatic part and autonomic part. Somatic, that is in the form of expression. You can see here either we are happy or angry or sad or surprised, embraced, disgust. So that is somatic part. Sometimes somatic part may or may not be present, but it is always associated with the autonomic part. And autonomic part consists of sympathetic or parasympathetic expressions. Sympathetic expressions are most of the time during the condition when we are in fear, and parasympathetic expression, that is during grief or during pleasure. So now, which are the autonomic reactions? During fear, there is increase in the heart rate, respiration also increases, cutaneous vessels are, there is vasoconstriction, sweating, piloerection, pupils are dilated, person is having dry mouth and muscle tremors. And parasympathetic, they get activated during pleasure or grief. Here what happens, there is increase in the secretions, nasal and lacrimal secretion particularly, skin becomes pale, muscle tone is reduced and movements are slow and feeble. Now, another theory was given by Arnold. Arnold's theory for the genesis of emotions. Here he added one more component. As we have discussed, there are three components in the mental part of the emotions, that is cognition, affect and conation. Here fourth component is added in these three components. First, cognition, as we have discussed, that is recognition, means the person becomes aware or recognizes the situation. Second, here after cognition, as we have discussed, cognition is followed by affect is followed by conation, but here cognition is followed by evaluation, unconscious evaluation as well as conscious evaluation of the situation, that is depending on our past experience whether the information is harmful or beneficial to the individual, which is followed by affect. If it is harmful, our feeling develop, they are different. If it is beneficial, the affect component, that is different. Now, so you can say that this affect component, feeling component, it always depends on the unconscious evaluation of the situation. So you can say that emotions, they have always logic, and unconscious evaluation that determines which kind of affect, which kind of feeling will be developed. Now, for example, suppose if there is a bomb blast, some people, those who are affected, they'll be frightened. Pro-terrorists, they feel happy, and anti-terrorists, they feel rage. Now, again you can see, suppose you hear a sound. If the sound first and foremost is cognition, that is recognition, you recognize which kind of sound is it. Suppose it is a bomb blast. First and foremost is unconscious evaluation. You must evaluate that, whether it is harmful or harmless. If it is harmful, your conscious, again conscious evaluation, which is followed by feeling, and the feeling is fear. Next is, if you evaluate that it is a festive season, then your feeling would be joy. If you evaluate that it is a cracker show but you were frightened previously, then you feel grief. And if it is festive season, in spite of that, suppose you are reading or you are preparing for your exams, then you feel rage. So all these emotional feelings, they depend on cognition followed by unconscious evaluation and followed by conscious reflection of the evaluation. Now, next part is emotional behavior. So, when there is emotion, that is definitely followed by the behavior. So, behavior is known as expression of emotions. Emotional behavior are of various types. Either we feel rage, we feel fear, placidity, sometimes sexual behavior, reward and punishment also produces different kind of behavior. Now, various neural substances of emotions. What is the role of central nervous system, or you can say cerebral cortex? Frontal cortex, cingulate cortex and parahippocampal cortex, they are related with the affective component of emotions. Why? Because first and foremost there is detailed processing. Whatever conscious experience we have, that is being detailed processed in the cerebral cortex. And our past memory as well as our imagination, we imagine this will happen, that will happen, it can evoke our emotional feeling. Our cerebral cortex, what is the role of cerebral cortex? It plays an important role in the modulation, in direction, understanding, as well as inhibition of emotional behavior. For example, suppose we are frightened but we don't want to show our fear, then we can inhibit our behavior. Then limbic cortex, anterior temporal lobe, that is important for gustatory and olfactory association. Gustatory information and olfactory informations are associated here. Parahippocampal gyrus, that is concerned with the association of auditory information, and posterior cingulate gyrus here, that has sensory and motor association. Now, lesion. When there is lesion in certain parts of cerebral cortex, we have different symptoms. If there is bilateral destruction of the anterior temporal cortex, there is a Coover-Brucey syndrome, we will discuss in detail. Then bilateral lesion in the posterior orbitofrontal cortex, the person is having insomnia as well as restlessness. Bilateral destruction of anterior cingulate cortex as cingulate gyrus as well as subcallosal gyrus, that results in extreme rage reaction. Now, what is the role of hypothalamus? Hypothalamus is a seat of emotions and it is concerned with the affective nature, that is development of feeling of the sensory information. It receives afferent by the mammillothalamic, it receives afferent by the fornix, hippocampus, to the mammillary body, and from mammillary body the information they'll be transmitted through the projection of mammillothalamic tract to the anterior nucleus of thalamus. We have already discussed this, and that is Pabst circuit. Now, lesion in the hypothalamus produces extreme passivity and loss of drive, as well as eating disorders, either excessive eating and drinking, as well as behavioral disorders, rage, or violent behavior. Now, another important part of limbic system, that is amygdala. Here, this is amygdala, that is large aggregated masses of cell. It is located in the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. It is embedded in the uncus and it has connection with the hypothalamus as well as other parts of the limbic system. What is the role of limbic system? It coordinates our affective component, that is development of feeling, which is the function of cerebral cortex, to the autonomic responses. Autonomic responses, that is the function of hypothalamus. How it does this function? Coordination between affective and autonomic components of emotion. So affective component is of emotion that is influenced by connection of amygdala through ventral amygdalofusal pathway, that is central nucleus of amygdala. It has connection with the brainstem, it has connection with the dorsal medial nucleus of thalamus and association area of the cerebral cortex. And peripheral component, because the connection of central nucleus of amygdala with the hypothalamus and nucleus accumbens. Now, so you can say that amygdala acts as a window through which limbic system sees the external world. And amygdala transmits signals to various other areas because it has connection. So it transmits signals to the cortical areas, it transmits signals to the hippocampus, septum, thalamus and hypothalamus. When we stimulate amygdala, there is change in the autonomic functions, increase or decrease in the heart rate, increase or decrease in the blood pressure, gastric motility also changes, defecation or micturition, piloerection and various anterior pituitary hormones, mainly gonadotropins and adrenocorticotropins are secreted. Another is amygdala stimulation also produces some involuntary movement, and these involuntary movements are tonic movements such as animal raises the head, bends the body, circling movement, rhythmic movement, clonic rhythmic movement, and certain movements associated with olfaction and eating like licking, chewing, swallowing. These movements may be seen. Other is if we are bilaterally abolishing the amygdala, there is syndrome which develops in an animal which is known as Kluver-Bucy syndrome. Here what happens, the animal is not afraid of anything. Curiosity of the animal increases. Animal forgets rapidly. He tries to get the idea about everything by putting the thing inside the mouth, and the animal start eating the things which it was not previously used to take, as well as excessive sexual drive and hypermetamorphosis, means it is stimulated by each and every stimulus. Now we discuss role of hippocampus. Hippocampus is formed due to projection of hippocampal gyrus into the floor of inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. It has connections with cerebral cortex. Characteristic feature of hippocampus is it is hyperexcitable, and weak stimuli also can produce epileptic seizures. If we stimulate the hippocampus with a weak stimulus, in spite of that, epileptic seizure may appear. Functions of hippocampus. It forms a channel through which incoming signals can lead to appropriate behavior. Also, it provides signal for memory consolidation. Consolidation means transformation of short-term memories into long-term memories. And when there is lesion in the hippocampus, the animal or person develops anterograde amnesia, means he or she cannot produce new long-term memories. Retrograde means animal or person cannot recognize past memories. Now, peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system mainly has two parts, as we have discussed: autonomic and somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is the chief mediator of emotional output, and it specifies depending on type of emotion. For example, if it is an emergency condition, that there is sympathetic activation, so there is release of the adrenaline. And somatic nervous system, it comprises changes in the skeletal muscle. Now, next is physiology of motivation. It is a component of behavior responsible for accomplishing a particular task. So, whenever we are accomplishing any task, we have been motivated, and there is a role of reward and punishment centers. If anybody is rewarded for the particular task, he or she must be motivated for the accomplishment of the task. This is experimentally proven as with hypothalamus. It was discussed that if any animal is placed in a cage with a lever or with a button, when the animal presses the button, if reward centers are stimulated, the animal is motivated to press the button again and again. So you can say reward and punishment also play an important role in the motivation. Now, applied aspect. Addiction. Certain drugs are said to be addicting drug. How can they produce this addiction behavior? Because these drugs, they increase dopaminergic activity in our reward center. So the person is motivated to take the drug again and again. Second, learning. Learning is also associated with increased release of catecholamines and enkephalins. This catecholamines and enkephalins, they are increased. They are increased in our reward center when we are learning. Certain drugs, they decrease the stimulation of reward center, decrease dopamine release in the reward center. These are chlorpromazine, hydrochloride, haloperidol. These drugs are used in certain psychological disorders. Now, monoamine neural tracts and physiological basis of psychological disorder. Certain monoamines are noradrenaline, adrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin. And they are the neurotransmitter, and the tracks, according to the name of the neurotransmitter, they are noradrenergic tracts, dopaminergic tracts, and serotonergic tracts. Now, adrenergic tracts, these tracts, they arise from locus ceruleus here, and lateral tegmental nucleus, they are present in the midbrain, and this nuclear projections, they are into the various areas of the central nervous system, mainly cerebral cortex, limbic system, cerebellum, and the spinal cord. And if there is deficiency of dopamine in this pathway, that is associated with the abnormal mood, also associated with increase in hunger and increase in sleep. Next is dopaminergic tracts. Here there are four major pathways. We are more concerned with two pathways. The four major pathways are mesolimbic pathway, nigrostriatal pathway, mesocortical pathway, and tuberoinfundibular pathway. Nigrostriatal, that is between substantia nigra and the corpus striatum. When there is damage to this pathway, nigrostriatal pathway, that results in the disease Parkinsonism. Other pathway that we are concerned is mesolimbic pathway, that is a connection between ventral tegmental area and nucleus accumbens. And in this pathway, if there is excessive dopaminergic activity, that results in the disease schizophrenia. Now, physiological basis of certain psychological disorders. First and foremost, that is depression. Normal mood swing, that is physiological, that is present in each and every individual. But if it is chronically depressed mood, also associated with lack of interest from the work, from the society, the person also develops suicidal tendency. And also sleep and eating are affected. Excessive sleep and overeating, that is, these are the signs of depression. What is the cause of depression? It is either because of decreased activity of noradrenergic or serotonergic pathway, or deficiency of the neurotransmitter. Pathways are intact but neurotransmitter is deficient. Physiology of treatment, one can give monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Monoamine oxidase, that is the enzyme which degrades the noradrenaline. So we are giving inhibitor, so noradrenaline cannot be degraded. Other is tricyclic antidepressants. They prevent reuptake of this noradrenaline. Certain drugs given, they increase the activity of serotonin, and lithium compounds are also given. Next, other disorder, that is mania. It is opposite to depression. Mood is chronically elevated without any specific reason. Other disorder, that is schizophrenia. Schizophrenia, that is characterized by a false perception of sensation, or it is known as hallucination. Either the hallucination is visual or auditory. Here also there is no anatomical lesion. And what is the cause? As we have already discussed, increased dopaminergic activity in the mesolimbic pathway. Here mesolimbic pathway, that is between ventral tegmental nucleus to the nucleus accumbens. And It is treated by the drug which decreases the activity of dopamine in the mesolimbic pathway. Drugs given are chlorpromazine hydrochloride and haloperidol. Here again you can see characteristic features are hallucination. Hallucination, that is false perception of sensation. For example, suppose when people talk to God, that is known as prayer, but when people think that God talks back, that is schizophrenia. Other is delusion, that is false belief. Person believes that somebody wants to kill him or any other kind of false belief. And also the person is withdrawn from the society. Treatment, as we have discussed, the drugs they are given, they decrease the dopamine concentration, but the disadvantage is these drugs they may precipitate the symptoms of Parkinsonism, or the patient may start developing the symptoms of Parkinsonism because dopamine concentration decreases in the nigrostriatal pathway also. Here we are ending our discussion about the limbic system. Thank you all.